Welcome to Stories with Pablo. Step into a world of timeless tales and captivating folklore from every corner of the globe. At PABLO Stories, we share enchanting stories filled with wisdom, adventure, and mystery. From ancient legends and mythical creatures to inspiring moral tales, our channel is your gateway to the magic of storytelling. Subscribe now to experience the wonder of words, the richness of culture, and the timeless lessons that connect us all. Join the Pablo family and help keep these stories alive, one tale at a time. Sparkle's new stories every day. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an adventure. Your journey into the world of stories starts here. The grand ballroom of the Langston estate shimmered under the glow of crystal chandeliers, their light reflecting and fracturing across the sea of elegantly dressed guests. Velvet drapes framed the tall, arched windows, and golden candelabras flickered softly on gleaming oak tables laden with sumptuous delicacies. A string quartet's delicate melodies wound through the air, setting refined yet expectant atmosphere. Among the throng, Vanessa Langston moved deliberately, her slender frame draped in a midnight blue silk gown that fluttered gently with each step. Her dark hair was swept into an intricate braid pinned with opalescent beads that caught the light, revealing the graceful curve of her neck. Her eyes, a deep hazel flecked with gold, scanned the room quietly, masking a swelling wave of uneasy anticipation. Tonight was her husband's birthday, the culmination of months of careful planning and delicate social navigation, and yet, from the moment she entered, something felt distinctly off. Vanessa's skin was a smooth contrast to the glittering gowns and tailored suits. Her features, refined yet softened by a hint of vulnerability, betrayed the weight of being an outsider embraced only partially by this world of privilege. The Langston family was entrenched in tradition and influence, and Vanessa, an artist from modest beginnings, had married into a world that demanded perfect appearances and subtle politics. As she approached the center of the ballroom, laughter rose in delicate bursts, glasses clinked in this meticulously orchestrated celebration, and the birthday honoree, Gregory Langston, held court at the head of the room. Gregory, a tall man with salt and pepper hair brushed neatly back and a tailored navy tuxedo, exuded an effortless charisma. His smile was polished, but his sharp eyes constantly surveyed the room, seeking allies and assessing potential threats beneath a veneer of leisure. Vanessa glanced toward Gregory, reminding herself of the love and shared history between them, years marked by both tenderness and complexity. This evening was meant to celebrate him, to publicly affirm their union and her place by his side. Yet, as the hostess whispered her greeting to the guests, Vanessa noticed subtle glances cast away, ephemeral but unmistakable, a quiet exclusion, like the surface ripple hinting at a deeper current. The seating arrangements, a painstaking puzzle of family ties and social rank, had delivered a silent message. Vanessa was to be seated outside, in the adjacent terrace enclosed by tall glass doors, amid blooming orchids and softly glowing lanterns. A small group of guests sipped champagne. The garden was a verdant oasis, serene yet secluded, offering her isolation rather than inclusion. Vanessa's heart sank at the subtle rebuff. Yet, standing under the stars' gentle gaze, she reminded herself that grace and dignity could turn the tide of perception. Before she could collect her thoughts fully, the quiet drone of rotors cut through the night's calm. Heads turned, conversations paused. Outside the grand gate, the sleek shape of a helicopter descended gracefully onto the estate's manicured lawn, its bright searchlights cutting through the dark. A murmur rose among the guests. Vanessa's lips curved into a subtle, knowing smile. Her unexpected arrival was about to turn this carefully scripted evening on its head. The moment had come for Vanessa to reclaim her narrative. The soft murmur of guests quickly turned into a ripple of excited whispers as the helicopter's rotors slowed, its sleek frame gleaming beneath the estate's floodlights. Glass doors along the garden terrace slid open, and Vanessa gracefully stepped inside from the descending craft, her presence instantly shifting the room's energy. She moved with quiet confidence in her elegant midnight blue gown, the beads along her braid catching the light like stars. Her gaze sought the crowd, every eye now fixed on her as her surprise blossomed into outright curiosity. The guests who had earlier cast cold glances now scrambled to mask their shock. Vanessa's lips curved into a gentle, knowing smile. This was no mere arrival, it was a statement. Inside the ballroom, Gregory paused mid-toast, his carefully cultivated charm flickering as he caught sight of his wife ascending from the helicopter steps. His sharp gaze met Vanessa's for a heartbeat, the unspoken tension thick as velvet. When Vanessa crossed the threshold, the string quartet faltered, the music halting save for a single drawn note hanging in suspended silence. "Vanessa," Gregory greeted her, voice measured, eyebrows raising subtly in surprise veiled behind a veneer of calm. "Gregory," she answered smoothly, her voice soft but unwavering. "Happy birthday." A few guests tentatively rose to their feet, some applauding, others exchanging wary glances. Vanessa's arrival had altered the night's course, a rupture in the refined choreography of the evening. She moved steadily toward the center of the hall, her eyes scanning those seated, friends, family, and rivals alike. She saw Vanessa Langston, a striking woman in emerald silk, seated close to Gregory. Vanessa's eyes narrowed imperceptibly, a quiet fire kindling beneath a polished exterior. Vanessa's heart dipped into a familiar well of unease but also steeled with resolve. This was her night, too. Gregory gestured toward an empty seat beside him, and guests parted like a calm sea welcoming a storm. Vanessa accepted the seat, their hands briefly brushing, electric and charged with unspoken history. As the music resumed, Vanessa caught snippets of muted conversations, speculations about her absence, whispers of tension, and the subtle shifting of alliances. Quite an entrance, a voice whispered near her ear. It belonged to James, an old family friend with a vested interest in the Langston dynamic. His tone was both admiring and cautious. Vanessa smiled quietly. One must know when to make an appearance. The night unfolded with a complex dance of glances, half-spoken words, and mounting anticipation. Vanessa's presence challenged old hierarchies and revealed cracks beneath polished surfaces. Between sips of champagne and beneath the glare of crystal chandeliers, the true celebration was not merely Gregory's birthday, but the shifting power play that had begun the moment Vanessa's helicopter touched down. The evening wore on, yet the refined atmosphere of the Langston estate had transformed from celebratory to charged. Vanessa sat poised beside Gregory, her presence a quiet defiance to the carefully maintained order of the night. The whispered currents of conversation swirled like invisible eddies around them. Vanessa Langston remained across the table, her emerald gown catching the candlelight and framing her face carved with measured composure. But her eyes betrayed a flicker of something sharper, possessiveness, envy, and a simmering calculation. She leaned in subtly toward a group of influential guests, her voice low and tinged with warning that Vanessa caught through the haze of sparkling wine and polite smiles. Vanessa's eyes narrowed, but she remained a picture of calm. Her every gesture conveyed grace and control, yet beneath lay the years of struggle, being married into power but treated as an interloper, always poised on the edge of acceptance. Gregory's hand found Vanessa's briefly, a subtle anchor amid the shifting tides. "Thank you for coming tonight," he murmured, touching her fingertips lightly. Vanessa looked up at him, reading the tension beneath his polished facade. "It seemed the place to be," she replied softly. "Besides, a birthday is meant to be shared." Nearby, James offered a wry smile. "You've turned heads. Vanessa, not everyone expected your arrival to be so spectacular." She returned the smile with a controlled spark in her eyes. "Expectations are a form of prison. I prefer to choose my entrances." As the night deepened, Vanessa found herself pulled into conversations threading between diplomacy and subtle contest. She spoke of art and philanthropy, careful to build bridges yet not surrender ground. Her voice, both familiar and new in these circles, stirred admiration and whispers alike. Meanwhile, Gregory conversed with a cluster of businessmen, his sharp mind hammering out alliances and concessions. Vanessa knew the stakes. They were more than social dalliance. They were the delicate architecture upon which their lives and legacies were built. Vanessa's gaze flickered repeatedly toward the couple, every glance a strategic move in a silent game of power. The spark of rivalry that had lain dormant now crackled openly. Later, as the music softened, Vanessa stepped out onto the terrace for air. The garden was fragrant with night-blooming jasmine and the cool promise of summer rain. She allowed herself a moment of stillness, cool breeze weaving through her braid, as a voice broke the quiet. "You grow stronger with every moment you spend here," Gregory said, joining her, his tone low and earnest. "They underestimate you, dangerously so." Vanessa met his gaze, her own steady. "And what of you? How do you bear their doubts?" He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "With difficulty, But the night is young, and so is hope. She reached for his hand, the tension between them raw but charged with possibility. Above them, the stars bore silent witness to promises whispered in shadows, the fragile prelude to battles yet to come. The morning dawned cool and pale, yet beneath the gilded ceilings of the Langston estate, tension simmered unspoken, heavy as the velvet curtains that muffled sound between rooms. Vanessa woke to the soft rustling of servant preparing the breakfast hall, but her mind was restless, circling the events of the previous night. In the intimacy of their shared suite, Gregory was already awake, dressed in a tailored navy vest that pressed with the weight of expectation. His salt-and-pepper hair was tousled in a way that spoke of sleepless nights and unresolved thoughts. Meeting Vanessa's gaze, he offered a brief smile that did not quite reach his eyes. "Last night was unexpected," he admitted, pouring coffee into the delicate porcelain cup she accepted. Vanessa raised an eyebrow, the steam from the cup curling softly between them. "Unexpected can be good, or dangerous." Gregory's eyes darkened with a mixture of regret and resolve. The balance between the two was precarious. The tension was interrupted by a gentle knock. Isioma entered, a vision of polished perfection in a silk blouse and skirt of deep emerald. Her presence, although composed and elegant, filled the room with a subtle electric charge. The three shared a glance that held decades of history, unspoken grievances, and carefully hidden ambitions. Isioma's voice was smooth, almost cordial. "Good morning. I trust the festivities were illuminating." Vanessa's lips curved into a controlled smile, more so than anticipated. "It seems the night brought new perspectives." Gregory shifted subtly, caught between the two women whose presence defined his world's axis. Isioma's gaze lingered on Vanessa, a quiet challenge in her eyes. "I hope those perspectives include our family's traditions. They have endured for good reason." Vanessa met that gaze unapologetically. "Traditions can be a foundation or a cage. I believe there is room for both." The conversation teetered on the edge of civility and rivalry, each word chosen like a chess move. When Isioma excused herself, the door closing softly behind her, Gregory exhaled heavily. "You know the stakes. Vanessa, her influence here is deep, her determination formidable." Vanessa folded her hands gracefully. "So is yours. Our challenge is to find where our strengths converge rather than collide." He reached across the table, his touch brief but grounding. "I want you beside me, truly beside me, in all that comes." Her smile was tender, laced with a promise. "Then let us be allies against the storm or among the calm." The Langston estate, though regal and imposing, was a labyrinth of whispers, secrets, and power plays. As the days following the birthday celebration unfolded, Vanessa sensed the undercurrents more sharply than ever. Courtiers and family members alike danced around fragile alliances, each with their own agendas masked behind smiles and polite nods. It was a bright afternoon when Vanessa found herself in the sunlit library, a sanctuary of knowledge and quiet. A tall mahogany bookshelf lined the room, heavy with leather-bound tomes and faded photographs of Langston ancestors. Vanessa traced a finger over the spine of a volume on estate management, but found her thoughts wandering. Footsteps approached, and a familiar presence interrupted her reverie. James, the longtime family confidant, stood framed by the doorway, his eyes cautious yet warm. "You handle this world with elegance," he said quietly, "but it can be unforgiving." She smiled softly. "You think I'm holding my own?" He nodded. "More than that. But you should be mindful. Not everyone wants you here." Vanessa's gaze hardened slightly. Isioma is the obvious adversary, but sometimes it's those less visible who are most dangerous. James's gaze flickered, betraying a hint of concern. "There's talk about your past, your origins, shadows that some want to bring into the light." The weight of those words pressed upon Vanessa, memories of struggles and sacrifices threatening to unravel in this gilded cage. "I've come too far to be undone by whispers," she answered firmly, "but I appreciate your warning." Meanwhile, in the expansive drawing room, Isioma convened a small circle of loyalists, their faces masked with civility but eyes glittering with calculated intent. Vanessa's helicopter arrival disrupted our order. Isioma's voice was low, edged with steel. "She is a threat to the balance here, and to Gregory's focus. We must act, subtly, Surely. Her closest advisor nodded. We've noticed increased correspondence from old connections. Perhaps there are truths in her past worth examining. Isioma's smile was a flash of ivory teeth. Good. Let us remember, the Langston name is our legacy. We will not let it be diluted. Back in her quiet moments, Vanessa prepared for the battles ahead not only in the halls of power but in the fragile realm of trust. Her resolve deepened. She would reclaim her place, not merely as Gregory's wife but as a force of her own making. The days following Vanessa's dramatic arrival buzzed with restless energy. The estate's air grew thick with competing whispers and the rustle of letters exchanged behind locked doors. Vanessa could sense something was building, the knots of tension tightening within the Langston family and their retinue. She was ready, this time, to stand her ground. On a brisk morning washed with pale sunlight, Vanessa moved quietly through the estate's east wing. Her path led her past gilded portraits and ancestral tapestries, each bearing silent witness to generations of secrets. She paused beneath a painting of Gregory's great-grandmother, a matriarch whose stern gaze seemed to challenge her. Lost in thought, Vanessa was startled by a gentle clearing of the throat. James stood behind her, his tone low. It's Isioma. She's petitioned the family council. There are questions about your past, your standing. They are dredging up everything they can. Vanessa's jaw set. I expected this. I don't intend to hide. She's clever, Vanessa. She's sown quiet doubts. Some are listening. Then they can hear the truth from me, Vanessa answered, voice clear. If my past is paint on canvas, let them see the whole picture. That night, dinner was unusually formal, a parade of elegant courses, all eyes fixed on Vanessa at the long table's end. Gregory sat at the head, his face unreadable. Isioma, resplendent in a sapphire dress, waited until the final course to voice her first volley. Vanessa, tell us, how did you really come by your invitation to exhibit at the Sorbonne? Some say influence, or perhaps a hidden benefactor. An uncomfortable silence radiated. Vanessa set her silver down gently. I owned it. There was no benefactor. My professor nominated me because of my work and perseverance. My background was never a privilege, only a challenge. Another guest, emboldened by Isioma's tone, chimed in. And your parents? We know so little of your family history. Vanessa's eyes did not waver. My father worked as a librarian and my mother as a seamstress. They gave me discipline, heart, and honesty, qualities I bring to the Langston family, whether others accept me or not. Gregory, silent until now, finally spoke, his voice firm. That's enough. Vanessa is my wife. Her integrity is unquestionable. Vanessa's chest swelled with a surge of gratitude and relief. But when she glanced across the table, Isioma's gaze was icy, a storm gathering behind calm features. The evening ended with Vanessa standing alone in the moonlit garden, her hands trembling just slightly. James approached, his voice gentle. You were brave, but be careful. They won't let this rest. Vanessa looked at the stars above. I know, but neither will I. Inside, behind closed doors, Gregory held her tightly. Whatever comes, we face it together. This house needs your strength. He drew her close. Let's rebuild it on your terms. That night, Vanessa realized she was done fighting for a seat. She would claim her place, not with defiance, but with a quiet, indelible force of truth. Winter's chill crept softly into the Langston estate, turning the gardens into frosted sculptures under the pale sun. Inside, the household carried on, a taut harmony of traditions clashing with the winds of transformation. Vanessa found herself no longer a passive figure at the edges of the family stage, but a central actor in the unfolding drama. Following the revelations at dinner, a subtle shift began. Some family members cautiously embraced Vanessa, admiring her courage and sincerity. Others retreated, nursing grievances and whispered resentments. The estate's ancient walls seemed to press a little closer, as if holding their breath. Gregory remained a steadfast ally, yet the king-like weight of his duties pulled him into endless meetings and negotiations. Their stolen moments grew precious but scarce. Vanessa knew that to maintain her newfound ground, she had to build alliances beyond the immediate family. It was during a crisp afternoon gathering at the estate's library that Vanessa met Eloise, a distant cousin known for her sharp wit and influential voice in philanthropic circles. Eloise regarded Vanessa with calculating curiosity. "I hear you've stirred the waters," she said, brows arched. "Some say it's a good stirring, frank, necessary. Others, less convinced." Vanessa smiled, a flicker of warmth in her eyes. Change rarely arrives on gentle wings. "We'll watch the winds, then," Eloise replied, an unspoken offer in her tone. This new alliance rekindled Vanessa's hope. It was a reminder that strength could be found not just in bloodlines, but in chosen bonds. Meanwhile, Isioma's resistance hardened. In the solitude of her chambers, she plotted with her loyalists, weaving strategies to regain influence, not with overt confrontation, but through subtle machinations and careful whispers that might unravel Vanessa's support. One evening, Vanessa received an anonymous note, its words cold and veiled. "Every queen falls. Do you know whose throne you stand on?" The message was a stark reminder that the path was still fraught with shadows. Yet Vanessa's determination only intensified. She began organizing cultural salons, opening part of the estate to artists, thinkers, and community leaders, a bold gesture blending the old Langston prestige with new, inclusive energy. These gatherings became a crucible for dialogue and softened many hardened hearts. Gregory watched, admiration and relief mingling in his gaze. One chilly night, as they stood overlooking the frostlit gardens, he whispered, "You are reshaping this family, this home, and I believe, this time, it will hold." Vanessa leaned into him, a quiet promise passing between them, a partnership forged in truth, resilience, and shared dreams. The tides of change were gathering force, and Vanessa was ready to navigate them, no longer seated outside, but at the very heart of the storm. The morning sun cast a golden glow over the Langston estate, bathing its sprawling grounds in warm light. The air was crisp with the promise of renewal, and within the grand halls, a palpable shift had taken root. Vanessa stood at the center of the estate's drawing room, surrounded by friends old and new, supporters born of authenticity and shared vision. The weeks of cultural salons, honest conversations, and unwavering grace had softened many hearts. The Langston name, once burdened by rigid tradition and whispered power struggles, was evolving, breathing anew with Vanessa's influence. Gregory entered the room, his eyes reflecting pride and a quiet reverence. Approaching Vanessa, he took her hand gently in his. "Tonight," he began, voice steady, "we celebrate not just my birthday, but the strength and unity that now define our family." Vanessa smiled, feeling the weight and lightness of those words. The guests raised their glasses in a toast, a chorus of voices lifting an affirmation. Yet, amidst the celebration, Vanessa's gaze found Isioma, who stood apart but with a regal composure softened by newfound respect. The years of rivalry had given way to understanding, if not full friendship, a truce forged by the fires of challenge. Later, as the evening quieted, Vanessa and Gregory walked through the starlit gardens. The estate shimmered with lanterns, reflections dancing on icy pond waters. "We've come far," Gregory murmured, "and yet the future is still ours to write." Vanessa leaned into him. Together. In the months that followed, the Langston estate flourished, not only as a home but as a beacon of inclusivity, strength, and transformation. Vanessa's role as partner, leader, and visionary became inseparable from the family legacy. Her helicopter, once a symbol of dramatic entrance, was now but a memory, her true arrival marked by courage, truth, and the unyielding power of being unapologetically herself. The birthday celebration that had begun with exclusion had ended with reclamation, not just of a seat at the table but of a throne in hearts and history. The dawn of a new era had truly arrived. Hello, family. Kindly share with us your thoughts, comments, or opinion. We'd be glad to hear from you on these stories. Thanks for watching Stories with Pablo. Please subscribe and leave us a like. It means a lot to us. You can also share this video with your friends and loved ones and turn on post notifications so you don't miss our future videos. Thank you for doing so.